Good morning, YouTube. This is LA Prepper here with another video that starts off with me rearranging my desk, as I'm sure many of you have gone through before. Like to keep these videos kind of at a low, I wouldn't say I like to keep them at a low production value, but I like to keep them simple production-wise because, you know, my audio would be a little better if I had a mic. I'll get to that at some point. But my computer is a dinosaur. My computer is from the Jurassic period. And for me to just to sync an audio track to video and render, even for a 10-minute video, it's going to take me a half an hour. Or literally, it will take my computer a half an hour to render it, if not maybe a little longer. Or maybe a little shorter, 25 minutes or something, but just a stupid amount of time. So at some point in the future, I'm sure I'll have a better computer, or maybe I'll start using my school computers to render prepping videos. But in the meantime, I'm just using my cell phone here, so the quality isn't great, the audio isn't great, but hopefully the quality is good enough that the message isn't lost. And sorry that I sound like crap. I can tell I sound like crap. Something is going around Los Angeles. Everyone is freaking sick, and I'm not like a big believer in conspiracies and stuff, but damn, everybody got sick at the same time. Just really bad cough, not too much of a fever, maybe a little bit of a temperature. I don't know if allergies or what, but just nastiness. Everyone at my school is sick, I feel like. But what am I going to talk about today? So today I want to do a short video on something that would be an interesting skill to have, something that would be an interesting thing to barter, and something that is just sort of a fun hobby to get you out of the house a little bit, get you a little more in touch with nature. It's really inexpensive hobby. It'll help you. I wouldn't say it'll help you get more familiar with technology, but yeah, I don't suppose I'd really say that. But I'm talking about aerial surveillance. More specifically, I'm talking about an RC glider. Little 3-channel, 4-channel RC glider. Now, why is LA Prepper talking about flying model planes? Should you be flying model planes when the shit hits the fan? Is the FAA going to be on you if you don't have your drone operator's license? Can you imagine like how ridiculous it would be getting sent to a FEMA camp because you were operating a drone without a license in WROL? Or something. I guess without the rule of law, you wouldn't get sent anywhere. But, as much as I feel strongly about Americans' rights to be free, if you have a drone, observe drone laws in your state and federal government. If you don't agree with them, feel free to write your congressman. But, be careful with your model aircraft and such. I only ever fly, I broke mine, but I only ever fly, pretty close to the ground within reason. And even times when I've been up on hills, when helicopters have kind of been coming by, I try to, drop altitude and keep it away from them because I don't even want to make them nervous. Even if I'm 500 feet away, the glider is relatively fast and wind can kind of push both the helicopter and the glider. So in a matter of, 5-10 seconds, if I was doing nefarious things with my glider, I could, someone could interfere with the operation. So don't interfere with legitimate flying aircraft or any other aircraft or people or anything with your electronic vehicles. But why would you want to fly an RC glider? Like I said a little bit, it's a really fun hobby. It's really inexpensive, great way to get out of the house, a little bit of exercise. So those are sort of reasons in and of itself to get into it. But I'm going to talk a little bit about, the aerial surveillance aspect. Now, not all gliders come with cameras, and not all cameras are sort of aimed down. Aerial surveillance, you're really looking for that bird's eye view. You're not looking to do a point of view and, this is what it would be like to be a bird flying in the clouds. That's fun, but it's not very strategic. If you have a camera on the front of your aircraft, but it only points down, you have to point down every time you want to get footage of the ground. So, are you going to keep, that's why when you want to get good footage, you point the camera down and then you fly around level, and it's a lot more energy efficient. So, how could you barter that skill, and how could you use that skill yourself? Um, well, think about this. When and if the shit hits the fan, you might not want to scout on foot. Scouting is going to be dangerous. You're going to have to, if you're bugging in or even if you're bugging out, you're going to want to have situational awareness, and not just of your campsite, not just within earshot, but within a few miles around you. And you might not go out every day or every week to check that out, but ultimately, depending on if you're in the country or in the city, and I'm kind of lucky, like, I could get on my roof with a pair of binoculars and get a somewhat decent idea of what's going on a couple miles around me. If I want to walk a quarter mile up the street to the pedestrian overpass, I could get a pretty decent idea of what's going on about 5 miles around me. And in fact, that would be a really cool video, um, like scouting locations and distances or something like that. I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is that other than getting an idea of what's going on a few miles around me, I'm not, I have very limited information. Basically, just kind of like what I can see from a certain position. And even if you're a few stories up, even if you're on the top of a 4-story office building or something, you're still only going to be limited to what you can really figure out is going on. Enter the RC glider. They really don't use a lot of power. I mean, the batteries are something like 1,300 milliamp hours, 2,600 milliamp hours. So any little chintzy, they run off either 12-volt chargers or 24-volt chargers. In fact, I don't know if I have my charger here, but yeah. So a lot of them, and my poor thing is in pieces because I'm trying to sort of repurpose it for. I was going to make a sailboat, a little model sailboat, because my plane. I was a little harsh on my plane over the year that I owned it, but this is the charger, and you'll notice that it's actually a car charger that plugs in. The wall socket has a car charger receptacle so that they don't have to send you like two different things. I mean, I guess they have to send you two different things anyways, but it's so that they don't send you a cable from this to the. It's kind of a silly system, I suppose, but at any rate, maybe they figure there's some intelligence in this, so this is just dropping down the voltage, but this is giving you the intelligence of being a nice slow charger and not. I mean, it's only putting out 1.5 amps, so it's not getting too crazy. But the glider, this is the motor too. So the glider, it's a brushless motor, which are really energy efficient. Screw it. But it doesn't take a lot of juice. In case you're wondering, how are you going to use your RC glider in WROL? The AA batteries take probably more juice. The power of the transmitter probably take more juice than the glider itself. And honestly, it'll fly. If you're under power, maybe 15, 20 minutes of flight. But the cool thing about gliders, it's going to sound stupid, is that they glide. So what you want to do is try to find a hill or go out on a really windy day. Look for an area where you have wind coming up a hill, and then you can sort of slope soar. You can try to catch a thermal, but that's something that's going to happen a little bit higher up. And air sort of needs momentum to move up. So if you're within a few hundred feet of the ground, you're not going to get a lot of movement. But once the air kind of gets a little more momentum, and you kind of get bigger differences between colder air and warmer air, it's a little harder to catch thermals closer to the ground. But once you are up there, the glider, once you start getting more powerful transmitters, the one that comes with the cheap inexpensive Conchendo $130, Hobby Zone, Hobby King glider that I got. It's only good for a few hundred feet. Um, and honestly, past a few hundred feet, it starts to get kind of difficult to see what your glider's doing, seeing which direction it's going. You can get really dizzy if you think your glider's coming towards you and it's going away from you. You can fly it right out of your zone. And if it's flying at 10 miles an hour, guess what? You have to run at 10 miles an hour to stay within range of the glider, and that's not always possible. So, but if you do put a super light little camera on, and I've done it before, you can strap a cell phone. You can literally duct tape a cell phone to your glider. It doesn't have to be a professional installation and $100 GoPro and all that stuff. You can get some really good video of a fairly wide area. If you can go up 300-400 feet, just somehow fly up that high and then sort of fly, in a rectangular pattern and then just come down, then you will have a much better idea of what's going on. Now think of how valuable it would be to stand on my roof or to stand in my backyard and launch a glider and fly it up, and how much safer I would be, or you would be, or anyone would be, not having to go out on foot. Safety is going to be a really big thing. And whether or not you're going out in the day or at night or in a group or with camo or in a ghillie suit, it's you're going to put yourself at risk being in public, so to speak. Being in the shit. So you're not always going to want to be out there. So imagine if someone has a family, or someone is elderly, or someone is disabled, or less able. Maybe they're not disabled. Maybe they're just, maybe they're not in good shape, or maybe they live by themselves and they don't have anyone to watch their prefs if they leave their house, or who knows what. But being able to get some video of your local area, I think is going to be really valuable. So I'm going to cut the video short. I don't want to talk too long. My voice is kind of crap right now. But what do you think of aerial surveillance? What do you think of using an RC glider to get some surveillance on, your neighbors and see what's going on? You can pick one up for, $150, and then basically all you're paying for is power to charge it. So like, comment, subscribe. I'd like to give a shout out to PH Prepper for giving me a sub and a couple quick comments. I've had some cool subscribers recently say some nice things, so thanks a lot. I'm going to try to get into the field a little bit, try to give you some more, some higher quality stuff, some field craft. Maybe I'll do some knot tying or something, I don't know. But going to get into some hard skills, because it's not all just about sharing opinions. It's about trying to teach you something, that you can use to improve your life. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.